If your nervous system is in survival mode, it won't let you receive no matter how badly you want it. All the good things you're manifesting, they need a place to land so that you can receive them. And that landing space is your body. Your body has to feel safe for your manifestation to arrive. You won't finally manifest when you raise your vibe. Your aim should be to regulate your state. This is where the point of this video comes in. I'll be introducing you to techniques that rewire your body to feel safe enough to receive. Before scripting, affirming, or visualizing, this is the step that unlocks all the others. If your nervous system is dysregulated, you block your manifestations. If it's regulated, you receive your manifestations. Therefore, the purpose of regulation is moving you out of protection mode and into receiving mode. All the work you do doesn't mean anything. If your body is tense, rushed, or overloaded because your manifestation can't land, you are never unworthy or misaligned. Your nervous system is just on high alert. Let's talk about the fastest way to calm your nervous system, your breath. But first, here's why it works so well. In your body, there is one nerve that pretty much controls how stressed or safe you feel. It's called the vagus nerve. This nerve is the main part of your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of your system that is responsible for rest, digestion, calm, and safety. Think of the vagus nerve as your body's emotional brake pedal. When it's activated, it slows your heart rate, relaxes your muscles, and signals to your brain, I'm safe. Now, here's where breath work comes in. Every time you exhale slowly, you're directly stimulating your vagus nerve and sending a signal to your whole body that it's safe to come out of protection mode. This process not only lowers your heart rate, it also increases something called heart rate variability, which is basically how well your body adapts to stress and returns to calm. The rhythm between inhale and exhale, it's not just relaxing, it literally rewires you. So when we say that your breath is the fastest way to calm down your body and rewire your nervous system, we mean that in a literal sense. It's not just spiritual, it's biological. And when your body feels safe, that's when it can finally receive the things that your mind has been trying to call in all along. Now, let me introduce you to a handful of techniques that have worked for me personally. Technique number 1 is something that you absolutely have to include in your daily routine. This is the technique I recommend to anyone who's just starting out with nervous system regulation. Wim Hof breathing. This is something I come back to again and again, especially when I know that my system is on edge. It only takes 10 minutes, but makes a huge difference. You can use it when you're feeling anxious in the moment, but you can also use it as a preventative strategy. If your mood tends to fluctuate wildly, don't just do this technique when you feel low. Also do it when you feel incredibly happy. I've linked my favorite guided version in the bio. It's all about cyclical breathing. Deep, rhythmic breaths, followed by breath holds. And here's what's important. It's not about how long you can hold your breath. Some days I can hold it for over a minute. Other days, 15 seconds is all I got. It's never failure because you're showing up for yourself. This isn't a competition. The entire point is to create space in your system, to calm, to reset, and most importantly, to reclaim control over your breath. That's a signal to your body that you're safe now. This is what I do when I start affirming and suddenly feel anxious. When the thoughts come rushing in, when everything just feels too loud, too fast, and too much. First, I stop everything. I drop my affirmations, I close TikTok, I pause my music, I strip away all the sensory input and return to the one thing that always anchors me, my breath. Why? Because when your system is dysregulated, meaning you're in fight or flight, it's already overwhelmed. Your brain is operating from the amygdala, which is your threat detection center. Meanwhile, the part of your brain that is responsible for logic, decision making, and calm, your prefrontal cortex, literally shuts down. This means that you can't process new input effectively. And when you try to pile on more stimulation, scrolling, listening to music, or even trying to force down more affirmations, you're just feeding the loop of stress. I know that stopping your techniques when you feel overwhelmed is probably the opposite of what most people tell you to do. But tell me this, has piling on more and more ever helped you? Has it ever been the breakthrough for your manifestation? If your answer was no, then literally stop trying. It will never happen. Not with more practice, it's just not how your brain is built. When you continue piling on more and more stimulation, you're telling your nervous system, there is still a threat. Keep the alarm system on. So what I do instead is I stop, I breathe, and I remove the input. Because that tells my system, we're okay, we can settle now. This pause activates the parasympathetic nervous system through the vagus nerve. Remember, that's your receiving mode. And it helps your body shift out of defense into safety. And here's what I want you to hear the most. I don't push through resistance. I don't override or ignore signs of overwhelm. I listen to my body and I learn to work with it. Because ignoring those signals does not make them disappear. It wires in the message, stay on guard. And as you already know, manifestation can't land when you're on guard. It lands in safety. Somatic techniques are practices that focus on the felt sense inside the body. Being aware of your body, being aware of how it feels, being aware of your breath, of how regulated your nervous system is, and paying attention to whether you feel tension in your body. This is the perfect nervous system regulation technique for you if you want to release stored stress or trauma. Experiences are not just stored in your mind as thoughts or feelings. They can also be stored in the body. And when you tune into those subtle physical sensations, you can discharge stuck energy and return to regulation. One of the best things you can do when you feel dysregulated, honestly, even if it's just a walk to the store, get up and move. Here's why it works. When your body is stuck in fight, flight, or freeze mode, it's holding on to a lot of unprocessed survival energy. That energy needs a physical outlet. Movement, especially something as simple as walking, helps discharge that tension and sends a signal to your nervous system. We're not in danger, we're safe to move forward. Walking also naturally engages something called bilateral stimulation. That means both sides of your body are moving rhythmically and evenly. This kind of movement actually calms the brain, and it's used in therapies like EMDR to process trauma. It helps regulate your nervous system by soothing your amygdala and reactivating your prefrontal cortex. So you stop feeling stuck in emotional overdrive and come back into clarity and presence. And unlike intense workouts that might overstimulate you when you are already anxious, it is soothing without spiking adrenaline. So next time you feel anxious, mid-affirmation, or overwhelmed by your methods, don't sit there and spiral, go outside. Even 5 minutes of walking can shift you out of survival mode and back into your receiving state. Another thing that always helps me regulate, especially mid-panic or when affirmations suddenly start triggering resistance, is placing my hand on my chest or my neck, or sometimes both. And here's why that works so well. Your chest, your heart center, or even your neck are rich in nerve endings connected to the vagus nerve, the same nerve that we talked about earlier that regulates your parasympathetic nervous system or your receiving mode. When you apply gentle pressure, or even just rest your hand there, you're giving your body a physical cue of safety. It's basically saying, we're grounded, we're okay, nothing is threatening us now. Interesting fact about regulation. Touch is also one of the earliest forms of regulation that we experience as babies. When you were held, rocked, or comforted, it wasn't just emotional, it was nervous system regulation. So when you touch your heart or place a hand on your chest, your body remembers that feeling. It kicks in the same calming response, lowers your heart rate, and helps bring you back to center. This is not a spiritual metaphor, it's literal nervous system language. You're using your own body to say, we're safe, we can receive. That's exactly the state that your manifestation needs to land. Sensory techniques are practices that use the five senses, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, to anchor you in the present moment. This is the perfect nervous system regulation technique for you if you want to reduce anxiety, increase mindfulness, and ground your attention when your mind feels really scattered. Engaging the senses interrupts spirals of thought and brings you back to here and now. This is how I use my environment to regulate my nervous system in ways that feel really small, but they're powerful. The first thing I do is turn off stimulation. No TikTok, no music, just silence. When I'm overwhelmed, silence helps my nervous system reset faster than anything else. The next thing I do is use scent. For me, it's vanilla or my favorite perfume. I use it every time I need to calm down or lock in a safe state. And when you do something like that, so when you link a habit, a thing, or a smell to a specific situation or to a specific purpose, your body remembers that and that thing becomes a signal. So that scent, which doesn't do anything on its own, it becomes a safety signal for my body. And then there's touch. Wrapping myself in a blanket, wearing something comfortable, it's subtle, but it really works. Hands on neck or chest, that counts here too. It's not just a somatic tool. It is also sensory. These are not fancy things, but they're super powerful because they get the job done. Sometimes you don't even have 10 minutes. Sometimes you need to reset right now. Here's what I do. First, I place one hand on my heart, one hand on my stomach, and take 3 really deep breaths. It takes 30 seconds and it works every single time. Second, I check in with myself. Is the jaw tight? Can I soften it? Can I drop my shoulders? Is my breath out of control? Can I slow it down? And the last one, I do this before any manifestation method. I set safety cues. That means I don't start scripting or affirming until I feel grounded. Remember, regulation is not some sort of extra fancy step. It's the prerequisite for any great and successful manifestation. Your state is what makes or breaks your manifestation. It's not even the technique itself. By liking this video, you're helping me reach the right people. Feel free to drop any questions you have in the comments. I'm happy to help, and I'll see you in the next one.